G'day guys, how are we? Welcome to the Boxing Deep Dive show. It is episode 67. Great to see a few people already in the chat, which is good. Who we got there? D-Style, how are you, buddy? How's it going, brother? I'm really good, thanks, mate. Really enjoyed the show last week. If you haven't checked it out, guys, make sure you check out D-Style Boxing. You want to hang with guys and girls that know their stuff, then that is the channel. So D-Style Boxing, check it out. Really like being on there. And as I said, they know their stuff. Mate, no mistake about that. Andy, how are you, mate? Did we miss you on Monday night on Talking Boxing? I can't remember. Yeah, I'm not quite sure, but great to have you along anyway, mate. It's always good to have your input. We had a really good show actually on Monday night, the Talking Boxing episode. And we're going to talk a little bit more about it tonight with Mike Altamura and Grant Tassie Brown. They should both be along in the next sort of 10 to 15 minutes. We'll get the guys on as they finish work and meetings and all the rest of it. But bit of a rundown tonight, what we're going to do, apart from obviously talking with you fine folks out there. We've got a complete rundown of the big No Limit show. So it's been announced, I think it was yesterday. No Limit are coming to Melbourne. So looking forward to having the whole crew along. Going to go through each fight on the card. I think there's, was there 2, 4, 6, 8, about 9... 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 fights on that card. So I have a quick rundown of the undercard and, of course, the main event. I've got a little bit of opinion on the show itself that I want to share with you guys, and especially, too, I want to hear from Mike and Tassie Brown. Just the overall show and a bit of a breakdown. But anyway, we'll get to that. Carl, how are you, mate? What have we got there? Please, no tank or talk tonight. I don't think we've got a choice, Carl. We have to address it. I know I went over it on Monday night, and we had quite a discussion on certain things. Of course, you were stopped in the 7th round with the body shot. I, of course, had my opinion. Other people had their opinions. We all had our say. And again, I'm really interested to hear Tassie's and Mike Altamura's spin on things tonight. Can you explain what that is again, Andy? I know, Carl, I know I've been through this before. Sup, Bella? Does that mean mate? I'm assuming it's this. Maybe it's a Queensland thing. But anyway, so what do you guys think about No Limit coming to Melbourne? What a big show that's going to be. Joseph Parker, the headliner. What do we think of that? Who else? Oh, Nikita Zoo, Benjamin Bomber, the footy players. I know you guys probably don't know a lot about the footy guys on the card. Cameron Mooney, Tom Bellchambers. Let's just say they're going to be a lot different to some of the rugby guys have been. I'm not saying that in a bad way, just different types of athletes. Most AFL players are a little bit more, streamlined, I suppose, sort of lighter, a bit more focus on speed rather than that power that you get in league. So I think it's going to be a little bit different. I think it'll be a good fight, though. We'll see. Jade Mitchell is back, of course. And some other undercard fighters on there. Kane Clark, Joel Taylor, David Nieki. So he came with Somerville. So some good fighters on there. But as I said, we'll go through that as we go. How are you, Frank? Enjoying the show with my wife, Lisa Weckler. G'day, Frank. And a big hello to your lovely wife, Lisa. Thanks for joining in. I'm going to bring Tassie in here in a sec. Can we just explain Balaka? I'm assuming that means hi. We'll leave it at that. We won't get into all the different sayings from all the different states. I'm going to bring, as I said, Grant Tassie Brown, if I can find him here. No, there he is. No, that's Mike Altamura. This is Tassie. There he is again. Grant Tassie Brown. Hi, mate.
Good, Lynden. How are you, buddy?
Good, mate. Finished work?
Yeah, literally straight from the gym, straight. I just smashed the meal, and I'm ready to go.
Oh, a little bit the same, mate. I was in that sort of crossover. Do I eat beforehand or afterwards? And smashed it down. I always do it. Always give myself indigestion. But anyway, we've got to get.
So no one can doubt my, loyalty to Boxing Deep Dive, because I rush home every night to get in time, So
good stuff, mate. Well, I've just and we'll talk about it, of course, but just going through the big card. Obviously, yes, it was announced yesterday. We'll go through that. The No Limit boys coming to Melbourne for the first time. George Kambosos, we've known it for a while. He's fighting Maxie Hughes in Las Vegas. We'll have a quick review of that. Skye Nicholson, of course, fought on the weekend. Of course, the big one, Taylor. looking at Joel Taylor there. Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia. I'm really keen to hear your thoughts and Mike's thoughts about what you thought. I had my say on Monday night. Before we'll get into it a lot more later, but just first thoughts of the fight.
Yeah, look, Lynn, I mean, credit to both guys for taking the fight for, first off. And credit to Ryan Garcia for chasing the fight because he really called Tank out for ages. And I sort of, when he started mentioning Tank's name, I'm like, do you really want to go down this path? You know what I mean? Like, you hadn't won a world title or hadn't fought anyone, I mean, besides Campbell of any major note. But he really wanted the fight, and he done what he had to do to get the fight. He signed the stipulations, and Lynden, I don't care about this stuff. If you sign it, then that's the way it is. Like, I'm not into clause. I don't agree with clauses and that. But if you do sign it, then that's the way it is. The fight played out how I thought it would. I mean, there's levels of this game, Lynden, and Ryan's a good fighter. I mean, look, Ryan fought Devin Haney in the amateurs about 3 or 4 times. So the guy's been around, and you're in America, and he's around good gyms. But, as I said, he hasn't really got the fundamentals of Tank or Shakur or Devin. He relies too much on his left hook and his speed. Well, speed and power will get you somewhere, but, eventually you need, the basic fundamentals and the ring IQ. So Tank is not just a power puncher. Tank's he's got a good boxing brain, and lately, like we saw with Riley Romero, he's boxing more on the back foot. He's having a look at you early. He's not wasting no punches, and it's like they say, like collecting data. And if you make a mistake with him, he makes you pay for it because he has that power. So Ryan led with that left hook in the second round with Tank, who obviously been practicing on, and got dropped with a left hand. He got up, had a bit of a crack, mate, but Tank was starting to get more confident. The body shot was a great body shot. I'm not gonna disrespect Ryan. He was in out of his depth, but I think if you get up pretty much as soon as the referee waves it off, you might have got up a second earlier. I think we all been hit with body shots. We know what it's like, and some you don't get up from at all. We know that.
Yeah.
But I think if you're on one knee, and I think when the referee waved it off, he jumped straight up.
Yeah.
I think he didn't want any more. So the fact is, he lacked the fundamentals, and I think he lacked the pure dog in him, the heart to really fight to the end. Now, he might have got knocked down again or knocked out cold, but look, it is what it is. It went along as I thought it would, Lynden. Tank is a great fighter. He's not the best in the division, and he's not the face of boxing. Canelo's still the face of boxing. If anyone wants to argue with me about that, Canelo is the face of boxing. All right? That's it.
Yeah.
Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney are the 2 top dogs that weight, and Tank's definitely in the conversation. Devin's the man, he's got all the belts. We still don't know who wins those fights. Tank, Shakur, and Haney, they're all 50-50. And you're not betting your house on any of them, Lynden.
Yeah.
But Haney's a lot bigger, longer. Shakur is just phenomenal defensively. Tank's got the power. I think all 3 would be awesome fights. I don't think Tank beats Shakur or Devin, but they're all huge fights. And look, he's got a bit of power now. He's got a bit of Floyd Mayweather, a bit of the. He just landed one of the biggest gates in history with Ryan. But look, it played out how I thought it would, Lynden. It really did.
Yeah, I'm a bit the same, mate. And we'll go over it a little bit more detail once Mike comes on in 5 or 10 minutes' time. We'll have a more in-depth analysis of it because I really want to get into the nitty-gritty. Let's just start before Mike comes on board, mate. Let's go over the big fight, obviously, now, or the big show announced yesterday. So, of course, it's the first show of No Limit in Melbourne. It's probably about time they got down here. Now, I want to go through all the individual fights on the card. Of course, and then I want to have a bit of an overview of the card myself, and I'm sure you guys have got your own thoughts out there.
You know, this was all meant to be for Harry Garcia, don't you?
Yeah, I know.
That was the plan for Melbourne No Limit, but he wanted to go on a TV show and put a dress on and shit. So,
all right. Well, look, as I said, I want to go through each fight. We'll just quickly skim over the prelim fights. There's about 10 fights on the card. We'll get into the main ones, but as I said, I just want to have a bit of my 2 cents on what I think of the card in general. But let's go over the first one. These ones haven't been announced, I don't think, on social media. They definitely weren't there yesterday. So your first one is Luke Gersbeck against Jack Moore. Good to see Luke on the show, 3-0 against Jack Moore, 2-3. I've got Paddy Donovan on there. I don't know if you've ever heard of Paddy Donovan. He's making his debut on the card. Then we get into probably what most should be the televised card. Campbell Somerville is back, so he's against Asias Seti. Now, Campbell's 3-0, Seti is 0-1-1, but end of the day, only his 4th fight. So obviously he's parted ways with DNL as well, which is a little bit of a surprise. But look, great to see him on such.
It's not a surprise, then they've got no.
Oh, it's not a surprise, no.
Well, were they going to go fight New Zealand?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
They signed Jack Gipp as well. It was mate. Like, he signed all these fighters, but what can they do? They've got no choice.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, obviously being in Melbourne, the pay-per-view is going to be massive on it, of course, but to get Melbourne fighters on the card,
Campbell Somerville pulls a good crowd, as you've had him on Lynden, you know that.
Yeah, no, he does. Yeah, well, I had his pro debut, and he pretty much sold out the place, so it was good. David Nyika, 5-0. Obviously, a really good Kiwi against Louis Masters. I think he's already beaten Louis Masters in the past. So that's, what's that, a 5-rounder. So the Gersbeck, Campbell Somerville, and the Nyika fight are all 5-rounders as well, which is a bit surprising. But anyway. But yeah, who did I say? What do you think of Nyika? Look, good talent. I'm just not quite sure with the matchup. He's already beaten Masters. Why?
It's not the fight that he wanted, he said. And they must have been, they must have been able to get anyone else. And I think they wanted a local Melbourne guy. So,
yeah,
I think if they had a better option, they would have went for it.
All right. So then we're into, which will be the televised card. We've got Joel Taylor, another guy I've promoted numerous times. Really good crowd. You know him really well from
good fighter.
Yep. And he's fighting Ben Horn. So that's over 6 rounds.
Joel will flog Ben Horn. There's probably not much left to maybe a round to fight, but Joel will flog Horn.
Yeah, and then we'll get into probably the meaty part of it. Jade Mitchell will fight Max Reeves over 8 rounds.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Sorry, there's Mike Altamura. How are you, Mike? It's about time you joined in.
I crashed at the right time. Were you guys talking about a part-time fighting concreter or a bad back concreter or a warm-up fight before taking the fight that we all want to see, which is Royal Murdoch concreter or who?
Well, yeah, bit of all the above. I'm just going to go through the...
Shots fired.
Shots fired. Well, I want to go through the card first, Mike, and then we can have some comments on each individual fight. So we've done Joel Taylor, Ben Horn, Jade Mitchell, Max Reeves. Then we get into Kane Clark and Ricky Naoto. I don't really know much about him. I'm assuming you do, Mike.
Yeah, I know quite a bit about him. It'll be a good fight, but I think Kane's catching him at the right time in his career.
All right. The co-main is Nikita Zoo and Benjamin Bomber. Very interesting fight, this one, Tassie.
Yeah, it's interesting, mate. Nikita will beat him.
And then, of course, the big one, the main event, Melbourne. Joseph Parker, 31-3 against Fago Opalu, 15-3-2. So that's all 10 fights there. So what I just said before, Mike, what I want to do, I want to just delve in them a little bit more. And then I just want to have a little bit more of a say on the card in general and just a few other bits and pieces.
Sure.
We'll start with the main event first, Mike. So Joseph Parker and Django Opalu. Firstly, it's obviously great to have Joseph Parker in Australia. Are you a little bit surprised by the opponent they've chosen for him?
Well, I know that Dad floated fights out to a few other
I know
Australians
he's hard to match, by
previously.
the way.
Yeah, it's where it's a surprise is I think that if that fight draws in Melbourne, it's a reflection of what terrific promoters No Limit are. Because we don't really know. The jury's out on what Joseph Parker's fan base is in Australia. And Django, if he was going to draw, if anywhere, would have been Brisbane. I know that he knocked out Hemi Ahio in Melbourne or scored the stoppage over him. He just recently fought Chris Terzievsky in their rematch in Melbourne. But it's not as though he's got a real strong, solid, even say niche boxing audience fan base either. So it's going to be interesting. I think that that's why they've tried to kind of stack the card with a few local draw cards. But yeah, I guess the numbers will reflect where it really falls at. I think it's a good fight though. In terms of taking away the marketability and that side of it, I actually think it's a good option for Parker. At least it's a legitimate heavyweight.
It's a big setback for Parker's career, but
yeah, but he just fought Jack Massey. So Jack Massey really is a blown up cruiserweight. So at least this is a heavyweight. At least it's a heavyweight coming off an upset over Hemi Ahio, who's 18-0. I fully comprehend what you're saying, Tassie, but maybe for Parker to rejig his career and get back to where he was at prior to the stoppage loss against Joe Joyce, maybe he needs a few victories like this on the spin.
Yeah, well, there's a question there, Tassie. You can answer that. So I'm going to give my thoughts later.
Is this a pay-per-view?
It's a pay-per-view.
Nah, it's not. Nah, it's not. Look, yeah, it's not pay-per-view worthy. No way. There should be Fox Sports.
But I suppose if that's the case, so they wouldn't be able to pay Parker because the pay-per-views, I mean, Fox is not going to be able to pay Parker. I'm assuming, I got no idea. Mike, you might know. Surely he's got his hand out for 150 grand or something.
After watching Nikita, that'll be it for me. I won't watch the main event. I'm only watching it.
Yeah, look, I think that there'll be a little bit of synergy from international TV, given that Parker's name still carries a little bit like fringe weight in the heavyweight division. So maybe they'll be able to sell off rights to different territories. And he's always been a pretty big attraction in New Zealand. So I think that's what they're banking on. I understand what Tassie's saying. I mean, but we've always had a not backward model. We've always had a different model to the rest of the world. I mean, Solomon Hormono versus Cliff Cowser was a pay-per-view out here. But I always say this, and I agree with what Tassie's saying. It would be great to see these fights on Fox Sports. Unfortunately, the TV providers don't offer enough of a budget to make these kind of outings feasible. So promoters need to float on the main event pay-per-view platform. We all got a choice. If you don't feel it's worth that, don't buy the fight. That's how I perceive it. Or go to a pub, buy yourself a few pints, sit back, watch it at the pub.
Well, as G'day Matt says there, it'll do well on Sky Sports in New Zealand. That's great. It's look. Firstly, I'll have my say in a sec about the whole thing, but I just think Joseph Parker, he's obviously a big name, but Tassie, is he a really big name outside the real hardcore fight fans in Australia? And I know what Mike's saying about the big picture, but is he really a pay-per-view attraction in Australia?
He's not. Of course, he's not.
Yeah.
Of course, he's not. He wouldn't get as many as Paul Gallen. I mean, look, I'll pay to watch any fight, but boxing's my life. But as for other people, I don't know, man. And I thought Jai Patel was going to be on the main event. That's what I thought.
I'd say, Mike, I don't know whether you know, I would say at a guess that there's still some stuff going on behind the scenes that maybe you can't fight at the moment, and they're just sort
of... But anyway, let's not be too critical. There's a boxing show in Melbourne.
Yep.
If people want to pay for it, pay for it. If you don't. But boxing's back in Melbourne. There's some big names, and the Zoo name lives on in Melbourne. And that's the key point here. It's a Zoo name. It's not about the main event.
Well, Mike, speaking of the co-main, Nikita Zoo, Benjamin Bomber's obviously this has been in the works, I think, ever since Nikita turned pro. Benjamin Bomber's had a lot to say about Nikita. He's obviously based himself in the States for his training camps, and we know there's a bit of, maybe a little bit of angst, probably from Benjamin Bomber. I don't think Nikita, anything phases him, but what do you make of the fight and the whole call from Benjamin Bomber to make it an 8-rounder instead of a 6-rounder?
I think Bomber's going to come bombing. I really think that it's a lively opponent. I think he's going to come looking to test Nikita early. I think that we touched on this the other week, and I do agree with what Taz has said a few times on this program, that if you're going to try and catch Nikita Zoo in his career, you better catch him early, because I
Running
think
out of
that,
time.
similar to Tim, he's going to start to gradually improve fight to fight to fight, and then going to be from a technical perspective, a much tougher nut to crack. I think we saw a lot of vulnerabilities in the Ben Horn fight. I think they're gone to camp, and it reflected through Dryden, through the Bo Balbin fights. I think that they've been able to plug a lot of those holes. So I think we'll be able to see a more complete performance here from Nikita, but this is a lively fight. I think that Benji Bomber, young, fresh, technically in his hometown, I think he's going to be looking to bring the heat early in the fight.
There's a question there, Tassie, from Frank. Would it even be a sellout? Well, I think it only sits
No way.
3, 4,
No
5,000.
way,
No.
About 4,000 capacity.
There's your answer, Frank.
Frank's a good friend of mine. Frank's a legend. Frank, shout out to Frankie. Go the Pies. Go the bloody Pies.
We're not talking footy this week, boys.
Yeah, terrible team.
This won't be a sellout. Nah.
Well, one thing I'll say, though, if you look at Kane Clark, Jade Mitchell, Joel Taylor, Campbell Somerville, and then the footy fight, along with the Nikita Zoo name, I reckon there's probably 1,000 to 1,500 tickets right there, just with the Melbourne fighters alone, I would think.
Just on the local fighters, there's about 800 to 900 there.
Yeah. And then you throw Nikita in there as well. So it's probably 1,500, maybe to 2,000 in total. But I don't know. We'll keep moving on. I think, Tassie, does Benjamin Bomber have a chance of beating Nikita Zoo?
I don't think so. I think he gives him a tough fight. Look, at 21 years old, I don't really know why they want to fight Nikita, because, I had a 31-year-old fighter with, who was undefeated, and it was sort of hard to keep, working on where to go with Bo, because at 31 years old, you're not a young guy. This kid, 21, I mean, but they want the fight. Obviously, they know the names there and all that. But and I'll give credit to him for going to America and doing all the hard work. But if I'm just picking it just from solely, I think Nikita's got too many tools. He's getting better each fight. And Mike suggested that he's going to come out bombing, and he wants to be careful. It doesn't end up like Mason Smith, who's a great fighter as well. But you got to be careful with Nikita. He can bang. I've been there firsthand, as close as you can get to the ring, because I was in the corner of the opposite opponent. He hits very hard. He's got good timing, and he's just getting better with each fight.
Yeah, it's a good fight on the card, of course. I'll be interested to see.
It is a very good fight.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether he can back it up on the night. The other one that was a little bit interesting to me, Mike, was, and this has probably got a little bit of interest for you, of course, is Jade Mitchell against Max Reeves in an 8-rounder at super middleweight. He did obviously call out Rowan Murdoch, or said he wants Rowan Murdoch after this fight. First of all, he said he's now a killer. So look out for Jade Mitchell. He's not the matador anymore. He's the killer. What are your thoughts from your and Rowan's sort of viewpoint? If he wins this, can we make the fight?
We've been ready for this fight for 3 years, and there's one side that keeps on postponing it because they're always a tune-up away. So, and you know my personal relationship with Jade. I actually like Jade a lot on a personal level. So hopefully this time everything holds in check his side, no cuts, nothing, and he gets out. I think he's too experienced and a little too classy for Max Reeves, but Max Reeves can crack from the outside, especially with the left hook. But I just think Jade's more savvy, more experienced, and a better fighter on the inside. But look, eventually all these fat camps are going to catch up with him. There's only so many times you can go from 100 kilos plus to super middle and not have lasting repercussions. But I still think Jade's got plenty left in the tank from what we've seen, glimpses of what we've seen with Mark Lucas. I think he comes through it, and God willing, we pray, no cuts. If it gets delayed again, I don't want to fucking hear this guy's name again for Rowan. I'm being straight out. I've heard it for 3 years straight. And, it's a great fight for the Australian public, but let's just get it sealed away and let's do it now and move forward and let the winner go on and challenge at World Honours somewhere.
Yeah, no, I hear you, mate. What about you, Tassie? I'm a little bit surprised. I understand sometimes it's easy to say they need a better opponent. Sometimes timing doesn't work, but he's 7-0. hasn't really fought anyone. Jade, in his words, 2 fights ago, was on my show, by the way, fought a former world champion as a headliner on Fox Sports. You think maybe they had dug a little bit deeper, they might have been able to find someone a little bit more credible?
Yeah, I don't know, Lynden. I really don't know, mate.
It's hard out here, Lynden. Slim pickings.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, shut up, Mike. It is not. What do you know? Are you a promoter now? Are you? You a promoter?
Hey, I'm sure that'll all be.
I'm doing my 19th show in 4 weeks. I know all about matching fights. All right.
So they're out there if you dig enough. So, well, let's go on. Well, actually, I want to hear from Mike with this one with Kane Clark's fight with Ricky Nato. Just for everyone out there that's watching.
I just want to skip to the quiz and fucking try and
we'll get to that,
motherfucker.
We'll get that. Ricky Nato, is that how you pronounce it, Mike? Tell us a bit more about him.
Naito,
3-3 from Japan. Obviously, they're looking to invest a little bit in Kane Clark. What do you know about him? And how's his fight going?
Juanito's been out here sparring with Steve Spark, I believe. So he's been out of Brendan Smith's camp. So he's well acclimatized, obviously. And I know that they were having difficulty finding a dance partner, but Kane Clark's one of those guys that is always prepared to put his hand up and fight anyone. And he's kind of in the same boat. So I think it's a good career crossroads fight. Kane's, I believe, 35 years of age, but you wouldn't believe it because he's 15-0.
Yeah.
I believe he was 15-0 in kickboxing as well. So unbeaten across both forms of combat. It's a significant step up if you look at the credentials in Naito. He's fought, guys who went on to win world titles in Ibarra. He's fought the absolute best in the world, especially like that fringe world, I should say, Asia Pacific, and was successful for a long time. But his last couple fights were just indicative that he's on the back nine. He's a crafty southpaw. He's not a real big hitter. He's half Japanese, half Nigerian. Hence why when you see him, you'll see that might not look appearance-wise like your typical Japanese fighter. That's why. But look, he's a crafty boxer. I think it's going to be a really good contest. But I feel relatively confident that Kane right now will find the way to pull through that battle.
Well, Tassie's lost his last fight, but it was for the Oriental and Pacific, so OPBF super lightweight. So I'll stop your 9 rounds by Keiichi Aso. But look, I think if Kane's going to make a run of it, this is what he's probably got to start taking these types of fights.
100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll leave it at that. All right.
He's ready for the quiz.
He's ready for the quiz. Look, guys, I just want to have a bit of a say on the card myself, and I'll get your feedback. Look, I'm going to speak frankly. I was excited by the fact that this is.
Please do.
I'm going to allow me to speak freely. Now, look, really excited that No Limit have finally got around to Melbourne. But I've got to say, I'm not going to lie, I'm really disappointed in the card itself. Apart from Nikita Tszyu, Benjamin Bomber, which I'm really looking forward to. And I'm not going to put Kane Clark and Naito into that category. I don't really know much about it. All I do know is that the Aussies, if it's an undercard fight, the Aussie crowd don't tend to get involved a lot when there's an international fighter involved. They like sort of Aussies versus Aussie, especially with what No Limit have done. It's always been, or most of the time, it's Aussie versus Aussie in good 50-50 fights. So no matter what happens in the main event, we've got that really good, solid undercard. So I'm going to put that fight to the side because I'm not sure whether the Australian public and Melbourne public are going to be too fussed about that fight, to be honest, apart from Kane's supporters. Joseph Parker, look, it's great to have him here, but I've got to say, to fight Django Opolu, who I've met a couple of times, great guy, he's a battler, always comes to fight. And I know Luke Meldon and Steve Dalla train him, so I'll be careful here. But look, good, honest, solid Aussie fighter. Joseph Parker is a former world champion who's surely got to be looking to get back into the upper echelon. And Mike, I know what you said, his last fight, Massey, was pretty tough one for him. And the Joyce fight before that was tough. I understand that. But is he sort of taking the piss coming to Australia? Is he just taking the payday to come and fight Django? And I hats off to Django for taking the fight. I think it's awesome. But as the main event, I find it really hard to get remotely excited about that fight. I really do. As I said, put the Zoo Bomber fight apart. I'm aside. Really looking forward to that fight. I think it's going to be a tough test for Nikita. I think he comes through with flying colours. But Benjamin Bomber's come in to fight. He wants to fight, and you've got to be dangerous with guys that continually call you out. They want it. So I think that's going to be a great fight. I look at Jade Mitchell, Max Reeves on the undercard. You know, obviously I've dealt. Jade's a good friend of mine. I've promoted him numerous times. But Max Reeves, is that the best we can do for a card of this stature? You're expecting people to pay $60, have Jade Mitchell fight a novice, and we know, and I think the way we all know the way these
wasn't he well rated at one stage?
Jade was, he was in line, and he had offered big fights. I suppose what I'm saying is with these fights, we all know the way it's going to go. Joseph Parker's probably going to toy with Django for 5, 6, 7 rounds, and he's going to get him out of there. That's just what's going to happen. That's just what's going to happen. Jade Mitchell is going to box rings around Max Reeves and make him look like the novice that he is. That's just what's going to happen. Joel Taylor's going to, like Ben Horn, we all like Ben with that performance against Nikita Zoo. Great performance. We all know the way it's going to go. Joel Taylor's going to hammer Ben Horn for 8 or 6 straight rounds. He's going to hammer him for 6 rounds. Ben Horn will get a pat on the back about being brave and strong and everything else, but Joel Taylor's going to pretty much win every round. Campbell Somerville will smash SETI. Niika will smash Masters. You know what I mean? Like the footy fight, who cares? You know, look, you got to remember, and I'm probably thinking full of Australia here, or not global, but nationally. Yeah, the Victorian crowd are going to love the Geelong and Essendon fans. Are going to take a remote bit of interest, the AFL fans, but the bigger audience in Sydney and Brisbane, they're not going to give a shit about this fight. It's not going to be what they're used to with the rugby guys going at it, even though I think these guys will be a lot more skilled. But this Bell Chambers has taken the fight on 4 or 5 weeks' notice. He's never boxed before. He's taken the fight on a month's notice. Cameron Moody.
I've held the pads for him twice.
Sorry?
I've held the pads with Tom twice.
Okay, well, there you go. Can he fight? Give us the scoop.
I took him on the pads, I think it was over a year ago. He froze him okay.
But the guy's never had a fight. And he said himself yesterday that he was rung on Saturday. He said, yeah, I'll take the fight. Cameron Mooney, at least he's been training with Will Tomlinson for however long. So, and he actually looks the goods. Who knows? It could be a great fight. But what I'm saying is put that aside because the big markets outside Melbourne aren't going to give a toss about that fight. And there's Queenslanders and Sydney siders in the chat, so let's hear it. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be too hard because I love No Limit what they're doing. Of course, we're all massive fans of theirs. Love the fact
you just got banned for the next.
I think I might have. I've been blacklisted. But hey, look, if the guys are out there, come on. I want to chat about it. I'm not. Going No Limit because you can only do what you got to do, and who knows what fights have fallen over and who they really wanted. I'm not saying that, but the guys have got their hands out. Well, No Limit got their hands out for $60, and there's been some comments in the chat already about, it's not pay-per-view worthy. I don't think it is either. I understand why it is pay-per-view because they've got to pay Parker. Big muddy fight. He's not going to come out here for nothing. So, Mike, I'll let you comment in a second first, but do you understand what I'm saying? This card is so predictable. Take even Nikita and Bomber will be the best fight on the card, I think. Nikita still gets the job done. But all the rest of the fights, if you ask me, I look at them now and go, yep, tick, 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 tick. There's no fights on there to look at and go, oh, shit, that's a really good fight on paper. Can't wait to see that one. I just don't see it.
There's no real 50-50.
There's no 50-50 fights on there. And as I said, Kane Clark and Ricky Nato might be a really good fight, but as I said, Melbourne or the Aussie fight fans they don't really latch on to the international fights are a part of an undercard. They're almost like, how long till the main event sort of thing. Mike, am I overreacting here? What do you think?
For everyone needing to raise their $60 to pay for this show, just listen to who Lynden told you was going to win the fights, put it on a multi, and if it hits, you'll cover yourself. If it doesn't, send the bill to Lynden, courtesy of the Boxing Deep Dive. But no, look, I think what this show is lacking, if you're looking at it, let's take the step out. I understand it from the industry perspective.
Yeah.
Take the step out, look at it from a fan's perspective. I know Zoo Harrison was a terrific fight, but what that card had was a couple fights that when fans seen them announced, they said, Lord me, I want to see that. I want to see Ron Murdoch versus Isaac Hardman. Even, I want to see Mazudia versus Ben Marnie, where people are saying, I don't know who's going to win this fight. Is it going to go this way? Is it going to go that way? I think that this show is lacking one more fight like that that really grabs their attention. And you know what? Maybe it would have been, not because of the turnaround, because the turnaround would have been too quick from March, but maybe it would have been a Jade Mitchell versus Ron Murdoch level fight or something of that nature. I think just that one more fight that strengthens the top of the card that you look at and say, you know what, this is worth my $60 because this might be the third fight up from the top, but this is going to be one of the best fights of the year in Australia. I think if you're looking at it from a promoter, that's what it's missing.
Yeah, go ahead, Tassie.
The teams who won the card, as I said, Murdoch and Hardman, Mazudia, and
Marnie.
And old mate, Marnie. Even like, Bo and Nikita on paper. I know Nikita was a favourite, but there's some real good fights that you didn't know. You're thinking, geez, like any of them could have been the co-main, But I think, look, as I said, Lynden, you've just overdone me as the controversial one on the show now. You are now the outspoken one.
And not one swear word in there.
No, not one swear word. And I agree with what you said. And I just got some news too. So, mate of mine, Frank, who's watches this show, he said, tell Lynden he'll sponsor the show once Tassie regains the quiz crown.
Okay,
Marcelli.
That's up to you.
All right, how much? How much? And what are we splitting, Lynden, for me to take?
I'm not talking about throwing that mic. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep if I knew that
You know that I spoke to Peter this afternoon. I had a very nice meeting with Peter Magnatis, and he informed me that he thought it was only 1-0. So clearly you did not update him that it's now 2-0, Tassie.
No, we don't count the first one. That wasn't a proper quiz.
All right,
that was shit. That
was
like some.
We'll get on to the quiz.
Weird thing, Lynden had an off night that night.
We'll look. We'll get on to the quiz a little bit later. I wanted to finish up on this one before we move on.
Yeah. But I agree with you, Lynden.
I agree, Mike. It's a really good point because look, end of the day, the Tim Tszyu, Tony Harrison fight had a massive, more amount of cash involved. I mean, it would have done a shitload of pay-per-views, so they had a lot more money to play with. But I'm with you. Look, the main event, I'm not, as I said, neither here nor there. Probably with Tassie, I'll probably watch it or whatever. But the Tszyu Bomber fight, I can't wait for. But there's just that one more all-Aussie fight, and that would have been mouth-watering. Whether it might have been an Isaac Hardman that might wanted to come back in. Paul Awakuso, I see someone mention him before. I know he's probably going to be really hard to get a good all-Aussie matchup with. But I'm with you. I think just there's that they need that almost a triple header of fights to get people involved. And I just look at this card, as I said before, it's win, 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 win. No real exciting fights in there. And I don't like to say it because, as I said, I'm a great fan of No Limit, as we all are, but I just don't think. I just would have thought they would have blown the budget coming to Melbourne, which is such a massive fight town. It's arguably the home of Australian boxing, I think, and it's got such a rich history. And it's in dire need of some quality shows, I will say, in Melbourne. But that's a different story. Mike, I'm leaving it up to you.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're about to fix that, Lynden. Don't worry.
We've had some horrendous cards recently, so I'm looking forward to that. But I would have thought they would have come to Bendigo. They would have come to Melbourne with a bang and made a real statement in what is now the biggest city in Australia. Tassie?
I agree with you on all that. I don't agree that Melbourne is the boxing capital of Australia. I think Sydney always shits on Melbourne. No disrespect. I live in Melbourne, but Sydney have had way better fighters than Melbourne have ever had, in my opinion. But anyway, on that, I agree with Lynden. It's a bit of an average undercard.
Yeah. Sorry, Tassie, to cut you off. Outlaw boxing, it's a good point here. We mightn't be the capital, but when you want a big event, you go to Melbourne. It's as simple as that. You want a massive event, you go to Melbourne. Well, Adelaide just put on the gather round, I suppose, in the footy. But you know what I mean? Like, every big event is in Melbourne.
It's a sporting capital. It's a sporting capital.
Sporting capital. Sporting capital.
I think if we write down the list of world champions and like legit world champions, I think Sydney's always got it over Melbourne. But Mike might disagree, but I don't really care what he thinks.
Yeah.
No, look, I mean, go to the hottest eras of Australian boxing was what, the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and the majority of the big fights, other than the back end of the 60s, the majority of the big fights were Sydney Stadium. So you raise a valid point. I'm not going to correct you historically when you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's arguably who's had the best fighters, but I'm just saying as events, that's why Melbourne has the Melbourne Cup and the tennis and the Grand Prix and everything else. And it's why, the Cricket World Cups are here. And I don't want to keep going on, but you get what I'm trying to say.
I live here. I choose to live in Melbourne. I lived in Sydney. I wouldn't go back to Sydney if you paid me. But, I was very historical about Vic Patrick and all them guys.
On the boxing side.
Yeah. I agree with Lynden. It's a pretty average undercard.
Yeah. Anyway, what do you guys think? It's a comment there from Outlaw. Get you what you're just saying. Crowd-wise, I'm for Sydney, but the Melbourne shows for combat sports have been the best. Yeah, the biggest events ever have all been held in Australia, probably bar the Horn-Pacquiao fight. They've all been held in Melbourne. So anyway, except for maybe Green Mundine. But anyway, let's move on, guys. Just a quick overview before we get into some of the world stuff. Skye Nicholson had the win on the weekend. I'll just get Mike involved there. Sorry, Mike. So what do you think? She moved to 7-0 with an 8-round decision over Linda Laura Lecker. Mike, is it time for her to step up?
Definitely. We said it, was it last week? We said that most likely she's just going to cruise to another unanimous decision victory. And I know everyone's clamouring for her to go out and press for a stoppage, but it's just not what's in her wheelhouse. I think that she's going to box within herself. She's more a defensive operator on the back foot. She's not a puncher by any stretch. She's got 2 to 3 punches she throws in sequence on repeat, but it works for her. She's got that little check hook. She's got that digging left hand to the body, and occasionally she brings the left hand over the head. And that's pretty much her wheelhouse. She'll throw a jab here or there, but she's not heavy on the jab. So, I mean, will we see more skill sets brought out of her? Potentially, but need better opposition that's going to put her under some sufferance.
Yeah, Tassie, it's probably about time, isn't it? I mean, everyone's sort of been calling for it because the fact that Ebony Bridges fought for a world title after 4 fights, I understand they're probably trying to bring Skye along, but surely if Ebony is, at the level to fight after 4 fights, Skye could probably jump in there now and fight one of the world champions. So the pool's not that deep.
Well, Ebony never had the amateur career that Skye had, Olympic Games,
probably a couple 100 fights.
Yeah. So
anyway, I'm sure they know more than us.
She'll never be an exciting fighter, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, but good on her. She's I think she's had 7 fights, 6 of them have been overseas. So good luck to her, and I'm sure she'll fight for a world title at some stage. I want to get right into the main international news on the weekend, guys, and that's of course Gervonta Tank Davis over Ryan Garcia. Tassie's had his say already. Mike, I want to hear from you. I had my say on Monday night on Talking Boxing. I had a real in-depth opinion of this. What are your thoughts of it before I give mine again?
I think that when you really look at the matchup, there was one guy whose career had him much better prepared for the moment, and it reflected. I think that Ryan had 1.5 terrific rounds and then got drawn into the overexcitement of the occasion and a little bit of his success, and didn't register in his head that Tank was walking him into what would end up being his undoing, which was, first that counter left hand that floored him, but then it created apprehension. Tank kept throwing the left hook over and Garcia kept throwing the left hook over and over again, looking for the home run. But Tank did what Tank does: low volume puncher, 30 punches around, if that, picked his spots, and then eventually drowned him. And I know that there's a lot of conjecture online and I don't know what you said, Lynden, but a lot of conjecture online with people saying, could have Ryan got up, could have he not? Who cares if he could have got up or couldn't have? If he beat the count, he was going to get knocked out 30 seconds later anyways. So if Ryan made a conscious decision to get up at 10, and get counted out, or if he was legitimately completely depleted from the body shot, it doesn't matter either way. The writing was on the wall. He was hurt from that shot, which was kind of between the liver and the sternum. And you know yourself, you cop a good body shot against someone who already has your number in the ring, it's only going to be a whole lot of pain from there. So I had no problem with the stoppage. I think that what's really, really reflected out of this is maybe finally the mainstream boxing fans recognise Tank isn't just a bulldozer. He's actually a real crafty boxer, real crafty operator, knows how to pick his shots. And I think we're all clamouring to see him against, whether it be Haney, whether it be Loma, whether it be Stevenson, whoever emerges from that mix. We want to see these fights.
Yeah, well, Tassie, before I let you comment, I'm gonna actually let you know what I said on Monday night, Mike.
Yeah.
My opinion was, look, you don't know. It's easy from the outside here to imagine what would have happened, but I'm going to talk from experience, and Tassie, I'm sure, and even Mike, I'm sure you've caught one in the ribs at some stage from somebody that you're upset.
No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't. No,
Right.
he hasn't.
Right. Well,
I've been KO'd once in sparring. It was to the body. So
well, there you go. So look, what I'm trying to say is we've all been in a position, whether it be boxing, football, brother or sisters give you a good one, whatever. We've all been hit. And so when we see the delayed reaction, we know exactly where it's coming from. People go, what happened? Did he take it out? No, he got hit. No drama about that. Couple seconds, the reality hit him that he was hurt, went down. My I suppose doubt in the whole thing is that no drama, staying down to the count of 8, even 9, trying to gather your thoughts or your breath, whatever it might be. But the fact remains that when the referee said 10, it was over, he jumped straight up and didn't appear hurt at all. Now, my opinion is, as a fighter myself, again, I know you can't pretend to know what these guys are feeling, but having been in that position myself, all I know is if you can do that after 10 seconds, you can at least get up. And whether he was going to get stopped 30 seconds later, whatever.
Doesn't matter.
My opinion, Tassie, was, can you imagine, and this is my main point, can you imagine Arturo Gatti on one knee against Mickey Ward after being dropped with that body shot, even contemplating taking the 10 count on his knee? The guy was wincing, biting down on his mouth guard. He was hurting, but he got up, and guess what? He survived. Now, who's to say what would have happened with Ryan Garcia? But the fact is, he stayed on one knee for a 10 count. And as a fighter myself, I'm sure you can agree, I find it quite hard to fathom with the money and the magnitude and the pride of being a fighter at that level, why he wouldn't have even attempted to get to his feet.
Lynden, totally. And look, and this is no respect to anyone, only fighters can actually talk like this, Lynden. I go back to only a fighter can talk like this.
Yeah.
If you are a true fighter, you will do anything to beat the count. Now, I posted the Ward Gatti body shot on my Instagram last night, just to remind people. I myself fought with bruised ribs. I didn't tell my coach. I fought with a bad chest infection where I cracked out an asthma attack, and I still finished the fight on my feet. I was wobbled bad versus a very tough fighter, Brendan Batty, God rest in peace. Where there were stars in my head, and I held on, and I come back and won the fight. If you're a true fighter, and I don't want to hear about living a fight another day.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear all this news.
That was brought up.
I don't want to hear about the new science and Jeff Fennick's big on it too. Like always says, oh yeah, good stoppage. Mate, he wouldn't say that if he was fighting. Fuck the stoppage. You fight until you're unconscious, and that's the only thing. I don't give a fuck, Mike. As a manager, you might say this or that. If your fighter dogged it, pretty much, because not getting up is dogging it, really. Like, you didn't want to say it, Lynden. I'll give him credit for taking the fight. But you at least get up, try and grab the referee to pull yourself up. Do whatever it fucking takes. To our viewers that haven't had a fight, you wouldn't have a fucking clue what I'm talking about. Only a fighter knows this. Oh, I fucking mean it, Lynden.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Everyone wants to talk boxing. Everyone wants to talk boxing, but how many fights have you fucking had?
Well, Mike, like Tassie makes a good point there, and I'm sure you'll articulate it a little bit as well. But this isn't football. This isn't football or gridiron or rugby or
soccer.
Can't call it rugby, league, whatever it might be. Yeah, what I'm saying is,
I just thought he was. I thought he was done. The last 3-4 rounds of that fight before the stoppage, I thought he was done because he wasn't setting anything up. He was looking for a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
He was out of ideas. He was throwing the same punches on repeat. And Tank was just waiting, biding his time, and then timing him. And that's why I said I'm not looking at it and saying he quit, he didn't quit, any of that. I just look at it and think he was going to get ironed out no matter what.
Yeah.
That's my perspective on the fight.
Mike, you've managed 10 or 12 world champions. Mike, would you be okay?
I'll take the 12, but it's been 10.
10. Mike, would you be okay with a fighter that you invested in so much to see him not attempt to get up? Are you telling me you'd be okay with it?
Now, look, it would hurt. It would hurt. I can tell you from context of experience.
What happens in 30 seconds?
I ain't been in the same deep waters you guys ever been in to comment from a fighter's perspective. But I can tell you, hand on heart, if I represented Garcia on Saturday, I'd be okay. He got stopped, right? I'd be okay. He got stopped. What would concern me is moving forward. That's the honest truth. Because after the fight, it's not like he was psychologically checked out. You can see kids that just got beaten up, and they might, even whether you feel they stayed down or not, you can see that all the fight was knocked out of him. He seemed okay with everything, the outcome of that after the fight. I just question how invested the kid's going to be in boxing moving forward. That would concern me.
Lynden?
Can I finish?
Yeah, let Mike finish. Yep.
That would concern me from an investment perspective, that you go all these years building a guy to that level, all the social media following, and then you don't even know if his heart's still checked into wanting to be in the sport. That would be the concern.
Got a question for you, Lynden and Mike.
Sure.
Should Diego Corrales have stayed down on the first 2 knockdowns against Castillo?
Absolutely not.
And what fucking happened?
He won the fight.
Thank you. You're never over until it's over. Now, Tank could have ran in and Garcia threw a left hook and knocks him out. You don't know, and that's the thing, Mike. You always go out on your fucking shield, and that's it.
Look, my view is that, I agree with both of what you're saying, but what I was going to say before is this is not football or league or gridiron or soccer, whatever it might be, where you
day sport.
Where you do live to fight another day. You know, it's about self-preservation. I'm all for the concussion protocols in those sports where now if you're concussed or whatever it might be, you have a week off, 2 weeks, 3, whatever it might be. I understand that, but this is boxing. This is the about being a warrior, and I probably agree with Tassie here, where I don't buy the whole live to fight another day thing. It's just a sport. Hey, these guys are warriors. They're fighters. This is what they do. And in a fight of this magnitude, this is not the amateurs or a prelim fight, where if you're a 4-round fight, okay, whatever, you might live to fight another day. But this is for a massive fight, massive audience, massive stakes. I just don't understand it from a fighter's point of view. And I was never at that level, but a fighter's point of view of taking a knee when you could at least make an attempt to get it. Now, if he had got up and keeled over, no drama. He's had a crack. The guy didn't get up until he waved it off, and then he got up, shook his head in his corner, and said, "Oh well, that's it for tonight." Then that's what I don't understand. And maybe it's a different mentality, being a fighter. I don't understand why he didn't even try and get up. Oh, sorry, Tassie.
You went.
Sorry.
Lynden, you was at the Olympic Games. Now,
Yep.
You know, you fought Kazakhstan.
Yep.
Now, could you imagine being in the same position, the Olympic Games, and not getting up from your knee? Could you ever think?
I would never fathom it. And in that position, I mean, I had my ass handed to me in that fight. I was way out of my depth in that fight, and it made me a better fighter. But quitting never entered my thoughts ever. Never.
Now, I'm going to say something. Mike knows the fight. I fought a guy called Nigel Hammond. He was just a journeyman, very tall guy. I dropped him with a vicious body shot, and the look on my face, he beats the count. I drop him again. He gets up, and I drop him again for the third time, and that was it. He was getting fuck all money. He had nothing to gain, but he was just a journeyman who'd done nothing in the sport, and he kept getting up. I mean, look, and this is the bottom line, Mike, and like, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to go with people that haven't fought, but you'll never know what it's like to live like a fighter, to breathe like a fighter, and there's no way around it, Lynden. As I said, if Crowley stayed down versus Castillo, if Gaddy stayed down versus Ward, you get up until you can't get up, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, well, I suppose there's two schools of thought here. I suppose you've got, the fighter's point of view and then the boxing fans' point of view, and they're all going to differ. But look, end of the day, Mike, one example I did use on Monday night on Talking Boxing, and I just want your opinion of, this is why I think the way I do.
Yeah.
When Oscar De La Hoya fought Bernard Hopkins, he got dropped with that body shot and he went down. He didn't get up. He got counted out. He was banging the canvas. He was yelling. He was doing everything he possibly could to will himself to his feet and couldn't do it. That is a 180 difference to this fight, where the fact he was standing upright, or sitting upright, or kneeling upright, shows to me he could have got up. And that's where there's a massive difference. De La Hoya was on his hands and knees, head into the canvas, just couldn't get up. Garcia, upright position, on his knee. I have no doubt in my mind that if he tried to get up, he could have. And that's why I'm being obviously very critical of Garcia in this situation, because De La Hoya had no hope. Garcia, in my opinion, could have got up. And that's probably why I feel, and Tassie obviously does.
No, I understand. I understand everything you're saying. I think all the examples you guys have given, and this is where maybe I'm looking at it from a different vantage point, but I'm not cancelling what either of you guys have said.
Yeah.
De La Hoya was in the fight against Hopkins.
Yeah.
Completely
in
Garcia,
the fight. Though. He was sort of.
To me, the fight was over.
Yeah.
The fight after round 3, the fight was over.
Mike,
because
we've seen fights be more over than that.
It doesn't matter what you've seen. I'm talking about this particular fight. He was bewildered. He was doing the same shit over and over again, throwing the same hook, trying to walk Gervonta onto it, looked completely lost. Look at him in the corner. He was blanking out, not listening to what Joe Gooson's telling him. That's what, I'm not making an excuse for the kid. So I am saying I agree with the perspective you guys are projecting, but I think that people that are looking at it really harshly, and if you look at those examples, the difference in those examples is Gaddy was in the Ward fight. Oscar was in the fight with Bernard. My perspective is Ryan wasn't in this. On the scorecards, he was in the fight.
Yeah,
he was gone. And Corrales was a different animal. Let's not figure, like, completely different.
But you don't know what they're made of until,
Yeah, but how many times Corrales went down, 5 times against Mayweather, no chance to win it, kept getting up and up. He would have got up 400 times if he didn't get waved off.
And then
that's why we love him.
At his trainer.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that, because that's how warriors are calculated in the history of the sport. But I think that what's been missed in this fight is just how in control Tank was leading into the 7th round.
All I know, I'm going to say this: I was no world beater. I was a decent fighter, had a crack. For $2 or for no money, I'd never fucking stay down. I used to go to Team Phoenix, and Nadal and Hussey, who's saying can vouch for this. I'd get bashed by both of them, and maybe Victor Chicken as well. I'd get bashed by all 3 of them, and I'd rock up the next day and back it up again, and again and again. And then one day a mate of mine said to Jeff Fennick, Tassie sparred the last 4 or 5 days in a row, hasn't he? He said, was Tassie complaining? He said, nah, I just could tell he's got a black eye on a black eye. I wanted to fight. I wanted to be there, and I wasn't getting paid a cent. But that's what a true fighter fucking does. That's what a true fighter does. That's what a true fighter fucking does.
No, I hear you, mate. Mike, what do you make of the press conference with De La Hoya, Hopkins, and Joe Gooson? Not there.
They were none of them were there.
No,
see, I've missed that in the mix.
Yeah, none of them were there.
That's disappointing.
Now, De La Hoya said he apparently had death threats. Hopkins was the same. Don't know about Joe Goosen. I found it really odd. I mean, that's pretty unprecedented, isn't it?
Would they be there? If Ryan won, would they be there?
Of course they would have. They were there all week when the
100% they'd be
cameras
there,
are
but
going.
you know what, Lynden? Unfortunately, that's a reality of the sport. Both you guys know that. When you're winning, everyone wants to be there. When you lose, whether you quit or whatever, it's your team's duty of care to be there for you. Doesn't matter. You deal with. Look, I'm not going to go into anecdotes and details. Quite a few of my guys have quit in big fights that they were in. Right? I dealt with the emotion and the problems, the fallout of that later. But immediately after the fight, where they had cut eyes, where they needed to go to hospital for a medical checkup, even just to check in and be there for them psychologically the week after, whatever it may be, it's your duty of care. That's what you signed up for. Because had they won, say they won the world title, you'd be on that ticker tape parade. You'd be drawing in all the accolades of the media. And look at a good example, Tassie. You know, you had a tough fight with Bo Belbin. You're there for the kid. You know, post fight, it's not. If you won the fight, you would have been there. You get beat, you lose the fight, you're still there.
I made sure he went and got checked out. It just as a precaution, just because he took some hard shots. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Tassie,
and I think that's your duty of care. So it's disappointing if none of them were at the presser.
Hey, Mike, is this just a rumor? Did you go to a fight once with your fighter on a bus and left with the opposite opponent when he after a loss in a limousine?
Oh gosh, that's a terrible rehash of a Don King anecdote.
Hey Tassie, this is a good point here. Do you think Joe Goosen might have been mad for Ryan wasn't listening, or that he let himself be counted out? There's something maybe to read into that.
Well, Goosen said on an interview, you don't actually train Ryan because he doesn't listen to you.
Okay. So maybe he was disgusted in his performance and just said, you're on your own.
He said, you don't really train him. Like he wants to do it. And this is the trouble with a lot of fighters these days. Now, I'm going to show you something. 1 second.
All right.
I'm going to show you something.
All right. Well, in the meantime, Adam says they probably had the shit from Garcia performance and you
So can you see this?
What's that? Yeah.
Can you see that?
No. Oh, yeah. Oscar and Garcia, yep. Yep. That's the difference in their careers.
So Oscar at 23 years old. Oscar when Oscar was 23-0,
yep.
and Ryan Garcia was 23-0. Oscar had 4 belts, Ryan had none, and Oscar had 11 world title fights, and Ryan had none. So this is the difference.
Yeah, it's different.
You're not even a world champion, but you treat and act like you're leading the camp. And look, a trainer always needs to be a trainer. I don't believe a trainer runs the show. You always need to be told what to do. And, look, it is what it is.
I did actually forget this. D-Style pointed out, I did forget, B-Hop was banned from the event. That's right. They accused him of rubbing cream on Tank. What sort of cream was it there?
That's crazy.
Yeah, during a weigh. Yeah, I did actually. I do remember.
Testosterone cream.
Testosterone, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, who knows? Look, maybe Oscar was, God knows what maybe he was out the back doing a line or something. I don't know. Who knows?
I think Bernard Hopkins was a great fighter, but I think he's a bit of a fuckwit.
Yep. Yeah, well, he definitely has his say, but anyway, Look,
and I'll tell you now, look, they're all jealous of Floyd. Bernard jealous of Floyd. And how good was it to see Floyd in the ring with Tank?
And being proactive in the corner was good.
Yeah.
We'll get on to. I think we've gone on about that enough. What are your thoughts out there, guys? Let's hear it. Another one, Mike, has been announced this week before we get on to the quiz. Is Smith Eubank to repeat or revenge? What are your initial thoughts? Is it a good move for both fighters? I think it is.
Well, we'll see. I mean, Eubank might look to make some adjustments. Maybe he underestimated the punching power of Smith the first time around. But, I mean, where they're both at, this is a kind of super fight that makes the most sense and most relevance. Huge fight in the UK. good to see Eubank invoke the rematch. Obviously bad stoppage loss the last time. Let's see how he responds. I think that Beefy Smith for a long time has been very deceptive, very underrated fighter. I don't think too many people, especially Eubank, will be underestimating him this time. So, yeah, let's look forward to it. Great fight, though.
Yeah, it should be a good one, Tassie. There was some talk. A lot of people wanted Tim Zhu to fight Liam Smith. I was like, you've got to be great. Why would Tim want to fight a fighter like Smith 2 fights in a row while he's waiting?
No, and Smith's fighting up a middleweight anyway. So, I mean, look, yeah, that would be stupid.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, anyway, it's June 17th, I think it is. Yeah, June 17th in Manchester, England. So, should be a really good fight, that one. Looking forward to the return. And who knows, maybe if Liam does win, he might go down and fight Tim for the titles later, or Charlo, of course. But anyway, all right, guys, it is that time of the night where I start to get very, very nervous. I'm referring to the Boxing Deep Dive quiz. It is Grant Tassie Brown and Mike Popcorn Altamura. All right. You guys know the rules. I've got 10 questions, 5 of them from Australia, 5 international, including a Who Am I? So, are you kissing your rosemary beads there, Tassie? Just
100%.
All right. I know you know the rules, but whoever yells their name first gets first crack at it. If you get it wrong, the other one gets a free crack at it. There's no second attempts, okay? And 5 seconds.
I reckon Tassie's internet is faster than mine. So,
well, we'll see. All right, here we go, guys. Number 1. How many successful title defenses did Jimmy Carruthers make of his world bantamweight title? Yes, Tassie.
2.
Incorrect. Mike, how many successful defenses?
So, okay. Wills, 3.
That's correct. 3 is right. He made 3 successful defenses of the world bantamweight title that he won over, of course, Vic Tawil. Number 2. In his first world title defense, who was Jeff Harding's opponent?
Tassie.
Mike.
Yes, Tassie. First title defense.
I think it was a rematch of Andre's.
Incorrect. Mike.
Okay, it's 1 of 2, but I'm sure it's a 1. I'm going to say Tom Collins.
That's correct. Tom Collins is right. So
the next one was Nesta Giovanni from memory.
He was. So 2 to Mike, 1 to 0 to Tassie.
None.
All right. In between the first and second Jeff Fenech Satoshi Shingaki fights, Fenech had 2 non-title fights. Name one of them. The opponents. Yes, Tassie.
Tassie.
Yes, Tassie.
Tony Miller.
Incorrect. Mike.
I'm going to say, oh gosh, what's
he had 2 non-title fights. Name one of the opponents between the first and second Fenech Shingaki fights.
5, 4,
3, 2,
1.
I'm going to say Conrad Mays, but I know it's wrong.
It was John Farrell and John Matty Enza. Probably should have had a...
That's right. Yeah, should have had one of those two. Yeah.
Same name. So John Farrell was from England, I think, and Matty Enza was from the Philippines. All right, so 2 to 0. Right, before he fought Teofimo Lopez, George Kambosos fought in 4 countries. Name the 4 countries.
Tassie.
Yes, Tassie.
So
I got this one.
Before he fought Lopez, 4 countries.
Fought in New Zealand.
Incorrect.
Incorrect. What?
No, that's incorrect. Mike?
What? Hang
on.
No.
You mean 4 fights straight? In the 4 straight?
Yeah, the 4... Sorry, before... before he fought Lopez... I'll re-say that, guy. Sorry, I'll give you Tassie a bit more of a go. He had... Between his last fight in Australia to when he fought Lopez for the title...
I've got this one if Tassie misses it.
Yeah, he had 7 fights. They were in 4 countries. Name the 4 countries.
Go ahead, Taz.
All right. Okay, so he fought in...
I got this one if you miss it.
He fought in Wales. He fought in, obviously, America, Philippines, and I'm going to say Mexico.
No, that's incorrect. Mike, name the 4 countries in the 7 fights he had before the Lopez fight.
Yep. So you got UK, you got the USA, you've got Malaysia because I was there, and he fought in Greece.
That's correct. USA,
That's right.
Malaysia, Greece, and UK. That's a pretty impressive there. So 3-1. All right, last
3-0.
3-0.
What did I say? 3-0. Sorry. Yeah. All right. Before he fought Manny Pacquiao, what former IBF world champion did
Mike.
Jeff Horn? Yes, Mike.
That would be Ali Funeka.
Incorrect. Mike, Tassie. What former IBF world champion did Jeff Horn beat in the lead up to his win over Manny Pacquiao?
Oh, I'm going to guess. I know it was an American. Wasn't
Ali
Ronald
Funeka
Bailey?
was IBO world champ.
Bailey?
IBF.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, Tassie.
It was an African American.
Yeah.
What wasn't Bailey? Ronald Bailey? No.
Yeah.
First name.
Ronald?
It was. We'll give you half a
Pay
point.
it.
Randall Bailey. Randall Bailey.
Yeah, I'll
Bailey.
pay
We'll
it.
give you that one. We'll give you that one.
All right, thank you.
Tough fighter too. I was actually at the fight where he knocked out Mike Jones.
Yeah.
And that was a ripper.
Hell of a puncher.
Was that on the Pacquiao Bradley card? I reckon it was from memory.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Into the international questions. All right. All right. Marvin Hagler drew in his first world title effort against Vito Antuofermo. Who was his other draw against? So he's had 2 draws. One was Vito Antuofermo. Who was the other draw against? 5.
This one.
4. 3.
Mike.
Yes.
All right. So it would be, he lost to the Worm. I'm pretty sure he drew with Boogaloo Watts.
Incorrect.
Kevin Boogaloo Watts.
That was a loss, I think, that one. Tassie?
That was a loss.
Yeah. 2 draws. One against Antuofermo, and he had another draw. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sugar Ray Seals, 1974.
72 Olympic gold medalist, Sills.
Yeah, Olympic gold medal. Yep. So I drew with him in 74. All right.
I knew it was like one of those crew. I just can't believe I blanked on it.
Is it still 3-0? I think it is.
3-1.
Yeah.
3-1. 3-1.
Oh, 3-1, sorry.
Got the Bailey. 3-1. All right. In what city was the first Ali Lynden fight?
Tassie.
Yes, Tassie. The city. 5, 4, 3, 2.
New York.
No, incorrect. Mike, what city was the first Ali Lynden fight?
It's annoying because I know the second one was in Lewiston, Maine. It's a free hit, so I'm gonna go Atlantic City, New Jersey.
It was Miami Beach, Florida. Was the first fight. Ali Lynden.
Yeah.
Miami Beach, 1960.
Makes sense.
Yep. Still 3-1. All right, a little bit of an easy one, this one. All right, who inflicted Sugar Ray Leonard's 3rd loss?
Tassie.
Mike.
Yes, Tassie. 3rd loss. 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh.
Terry Norris.
Incorrect. We've lost you there. I don't know what happened there. Oh, hang on. Mike?
I got you.
All right, just hang on a sec there, Mike. I might bring Tassie back in. We'll bring him back in because we're getting a lot of feedback there. You can answer it, though. Who gave him his
Hector
3rd loss?
Camacho.
That's right, 1997. We'll just wait for Tassie to come back. How are you guys going out there with this, guys? Are we just looking at some of the answers there? D-Style, this is a gimme. Jeez, we'll have to get you on, I reckon. You got this, yep. Here we go. Oh, hang on, there he is. We're back. Tassie, Mike actually got that one right. It was Hector Camacho. Was his third
Yeah.
loss,
I was
1997.
getting mixed up. Second and third. Yeah.
All right, so 4-1. All right.
Yeah.
So,
I know he didn't lose many. Yeah.
all right, here we go. In 1989, or February 1989, 5 Olympians turned pro on the same undercard of which world title fight? So 5 pros from the 88 Olympics turned pro. Yes, Mike. What? Of what world title fight did they fight on the undercard of?
So I know it was a Leonard card. I'm just figuring which one.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was a war. So Leonard versus Hearns.
Incorrect. Tassie? 5 Olympians turned pro on the undercard of which world title fight in February 1989? One of them wasn't American. There's a hint.
Sorry?
One of them wasn't an American.
No, it was Robert Wangilla was a non-American.
Yeah.
I think it was a Tyson. I think it'd be a Tyson card.
No, it was Roberto Duran, Iran Barkley in Atlantic City.
Yep.
Oh.
I knew it was one of those cards.
It was.
I
actually thought
that's one of my favourite fights.
Yeah, I remember watching it and seeing the undercard. I had it in my head that Roy Jones Jr. fought on it, but he didn't. It was Andrew Maynard, Kennedy McKinney, Ray Mercer, Michael Carbajal, and Robert Wangilla. Yeah. Robert Wangilla. All right, so it's 4-1. Let's see if you can get the Who Am I. All right. Born 1930 in Arkansas, USA. After a troubled youth that included going to prison for 2.5 years, I turned pro in September 1953. After getting to 33-1, I won the world title with a brutal knockout in September 1962. After a repeat performance in my first defence, I lost the title in a massive upset in February 1964.
Tassie.
Yes, Tassie.
Sonny Liston.
That's correct, Sonny Liston. So he lost the controversial rematch in 1965. Of course, the Phantom Punch compiled 14 wins over the next 4 years, but never got another shot at the title. Retired on a winning note with a win in June 1970, and a reputation as one of the most intimidating fighters of all time. Final record with 50 wins, 4 losses, 39 KOs. He was referred to as the Big Bear. He's Charles Sonny Liston. Now, a little bit of a fun fact with that. His father actually was married before he met Sonny Liston's mother and had, I think it was 13 kids or 12 kids or something. And when he met Sonny Liston's mother, they had 12 or 13 kids together as well. So it was 25 kids in total, if you can believe that.
Easy man.
25 kids did his dad.
I'll get you next week, Mike. I'll get you next week. It's all right.
So
that's what you said last week.
I'll get you.
But truthfully, we were both a bit flat tonight.
Yeah, it was at 4-2. 4-2.
I've got an update for you.
Yep.
Jerome Pampolonio won in the first round, and Andrei Malakcevic won in the 5th round on the Dean Lonergan show in New Zealand.
Oh, yeah, it's in New Zealand. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, impressive win by Pampolone, stopping Mossy Omatagi in a round, because Omatagi hadn't been stopped prior to that.
Oh, is that who he fought? Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Solid win.
Yeah, that is a really solid win, yeah. So, but all good, guys. Look, it makes up a little bit for the performance of the Blues over the weekend, Mike. Tassie couldn't do it. Colin wouldn't come home with a wet sail and get it. But
we take the W's where they come.
Yeah, that's it. But
so all good, Mike, all good.
Yeah, all good. All right, guys. Thanks very much for tuning in. Sorry, go ahead, Tassie.
No, I'm just saying, at least you've done better than your little coffee buddy, Peter Manialis, mate. So
and give Peter our best.
So, he's fucking, yeah, it's all right.
All good, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone out there as well. It's great to have you, part of the show every week. It's a lot more fun than we used to record it. To actually have a bit of interaction with you guys, so we appreciate it. Keep punching out there, Scotty Palmer would say, and we'll see you next week. See you guys.